Today's video is sponsored by Train-O-Matic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Visit train-o-matic.com to browse the full range and see what they've got suitable for you. Well, we finally arrived. This is it, Statfold Barn Railway. Hope I'm pronouncing that correct. We've been invited down to go for a ride on the trains and to meet one of the patrons, Dale Williams, better known as Garthion in the chat. You may know him. So it'd be really nice to actually put a face to a name. And he's invited us down here for this event that's on today. So it's been on all weekend. Today is Sunday. So let's get to it. I can hear trains. So what are we doing? Great, isn't it? There's so many different trains running. So we're down here on the platform and we're just looking for Dale actually. Apparently we've just missed him. The train that pulled out was the one that he's on. So what we might do is just hop on a train and see if we can catch up with him at the next junction station. This is the train we've been waiting for, so it's a great opportunity now. We're going to go and meet Dale, and hopefully he'll recognise us. It's amazing to find you with him. Many thanks for inviting us down here. I'm actually quite impressed how intensive the surface is. Well, no, it's the fact they're sort of coming in and out, It's not like when
it's quite laid back.
Yeah.
Normally we have one every 5 minutes.
It's actually really great to be here and really glad we got invited. I've never actually been to the Statfold Barn Railway before, so it's really nice to see. I think it's the same gauge as something like the Welsh Highland Railway or the Ffestiniog Railway. Indeed, the train we're waiting for is one of the Garretts, which I think is pretty much the same as the ones that run on the Welsh Highland Railway. And there's so many different trains running at the moment. They're coming in and out. It's like being at a busy mainline terminus. So we're just waiting for the next train to come in on this platform over here. In the meantime, there's what seems to be a demonstration freight train has just charged the grade on the other side of these trees up here. So there's constantly stuff going on. Once we get a train in here, we think it might be the Garrett, but we don't know for certain. Then this one's going to go and it'll sort of stagger itself and repeat, and it's just such an intensive experience. I think this is one of the great places to come to if you want to see trains running intensively. Yeah, this is match this one?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that.
Did you stay with this train then? Yeah. You can ride it. Are you sure? Oh, brilliant. Yeah, we'll do that. Currently in the guards compartment of a train that the garage just brought in, so they're hooking up another locomotive to the front, and then hopefully when that's all done, there'll be another train coming over there, and then we're going to head up down the line and ride the line. I'm steaming up. It's a lovely day. I can't believe how we lucked out on the weather, given that yesterday was awful weather, where we were anyway, and I think tomorrow the outlook is not very good. But today, the weather knew we were coming, so it's putting on a spread. So just about to do the uncoupling. So here's Dale, and he's going to separate the locomotive from the train. The locomotive's going to stay here. We've now got the garret on the other end. Whoa! That is quite some pressure. That tram doesn't half squeal on that corner. Might need a bit of flange lubrication. But we're just by the museum now. See the Foden Suite through there and the roundhouse, and we're going to talk a little bit with Dale, who very, very kindly invited us down here. We're just waiting for some of the trains to go past, and it's a great opportunity to just sort of stand here and watch the world go by. And there's just so much going on. You can see here we've got 4 parallel tracks. They've got, I've been told they can have up to 4 trains running at the same time, plus the tram. So it is just such an intensive service. So I'm going to go and stand over in the shade, and I'm going to get myself sorted to watch some of these fine locomotives go on past. And you know, I've seen such a variety of locomotive power as well. We've got that K1 stroke K2, which is such an impressive beast up close to. But then also there's a couple of brand new build Hunslets, and I'm going to be talking with Dale a little bit about those, but they're actually brand new and perfectly entitled to be called Hunslets because they were made by the company. So come with me. I'm down here at the Statfold Barn Railway with Dale, who invited us, and it's a really great day here today actually. You've been really lucky with the weather, but I must admit this is not a preserved line which I particularly heard much about before. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of this line?
It's not actually a preserved railway. The line was first started around 2003 by Graham Lee. He wanted a garden railway. Instead of the usual little 16mm G scale or even 5-inch, he decided he wanted 2-foot gauge. So he bought an engine, bought loads of track, had it built by Alan Keefs. And then he got a bigger engine, which didn't fit, so he started expanding. And what's here now has grown since then. A couple of years ago the whole line was put as part of a trust, and most of us are volunteers. There are some staff, and there's also an engineering firm which does all the work, but we come and play.
I mean, it is a brilliant railway to play on. I must admit, if this was my garden railway, you'd never get me out of the garden. But there's so much going on, and what's really struck me, especially when we've gone into the museum and had a look in that roundhouse, there is so much stock here, so many locomotives. Can you tell us a little bit about the collection? Is there a kind of overarching theme, or is it simply a case of picking up what's available?
It was basically Graham seeing engines that were abandoned and going, I want that, paying for it, getting it here. So some of them came from British railways that either were closing or couldn't afford to keep them.
I mean, they are very expensive. So you're saying there's an engineering facility here on site as well? So is that purely for the upkeep of the locomotives here, or do they do a lot of rebuilding work for other railways as well?
There is outside contract work.
Right. I mean,
a new railway in Barbados was all the locos and coaches who built it.
So it's not just UK based, they do a lot of work for overseas railways, helping to restore and reinvigorate stuff overseas. I mean, that's wonderful. And of course, a lot of these locomotives that you see here, they would have been built for the export market as well.
A lot of them were, yeah.
So we just had the tram squeal past, and you did tell me a little bit of a story about the tram, that's actually quite unique now, but do you know a little bit of the history behind that?
Yeah, it's number 14 from the Burton and Ashby tramway. It was a country line that ran between Burton-on-Trent in South East Staffordshire and
I mean, that is a beautiful piece of kit. That's from Harrogate Gasworks, that one, isn't it?
It is, yes. And K1's coming in as well.
So this is the K1 stroke K2 Garrett, and I'm guessing the reason that it's known as both is because it contains elements of both the K1 and the K2. So it's similar but not quite as powerful as the ones that run on the Welsh Highland Railway, because this was the first.
It was the prototype, basically.
What's the story behind this? How has this locomotive in particular survived? Because I'm guessing as a prototype, it may have been very quickly outclassed by later products.
It was built for the North East Dundas Tramway in Tasmania. In 1909 it was built by Bayer Peacocks, but it's not actually a Bayer Garrett.
Oh, right.
That honour falls to the second type, which was the Garthion one.
Right.
Because after this, Mr. Garrett gave his patent to Bayer Peacock.
Right, so is this the one that for a very long time was in, Bayer Peacock bought it back and had it in their,
They did, yes.
kind of at their factory as their Gate Guardian stroke museum piece?
They bought it back because it was such a historic loco.
So it survived by virtue of that through until the demise of Bayer Peacock, and then presumably by then its history meant that it was fairly assured of preservation.
They offered it for a nominal fee to the Statforld Railway, who at the time wanted to cut it down to fit, because they weren't at the time planning the Welsh Highland.
Of course, because I mean the Statforld Railway has quite a challenging loading gauge. So I'm guessing it wouldn't have got through the tunnel at Minford or even the Mole Tunnel as well, which is notorious that you kept your head in the carriage, because if you looked out the window you'd lose your head.
Yeah.
But I mean it's nice to see not only that it survives, but it's still working. And it's amazing how little effort it needs to put in when it's going around the track. I mean, when you compare it to some of the little quarry Hunslets, it just glides round. It's not working hard to do it. It almost seems like it's overpowered for the railway.
For here, it is. But unfortunately, it was underpowered for the Welsh Highland.
Right. So it's been restored here to working order, has it?
It's been overhauled. It was originally restored beginning of the last decade for Welsh Highland, but they found it underpowered. So it went out of service in, I think, 2016 and spent a few years at Dinas Carriage Shed getting covered in bird droppings.
Oh, right.
Which is the reason it's no longer lined out.
I can imagine. I know from my car, if you get bird doings on your car, it doesn't half affect the paintwork, so I can imagine.
And back in November, Graham brokered a deal that it would come here initially as a stat exhibit. In December, he just turned around and went to Mr. Lewin at the Statforld, can we overhaul it and run it? The deal was then, yes, as long as we can have it occasionally.
Right.
As long as you don't need it.
Right, so basically it has first refusal to stay here for an event, but if it's not being used here for an event and the Statforld want it temporarily for something, then they just ship it over there and it's theirs to use.
Indeed. Basically the overhaul took 70 days.
And that's quite a short period of time.
Fast.
Yeah, because you said before as well, they've built, there's a couple of Hunslets here which are actually built from scratch. And the interesting thing about that is that the owner of the railway also owns Hunslet locomotives. So even though they're new build in inverted commas, they are the genuine article. They are actually a Hunslet product, even though they're brand new.
They are genuine Hunslets. There's also at the Amerton Railway in Stafford a Wren class built here.
Right. So, I mean, is it a regular thing that they keep up a production line, as it were, of slowly building new ones, or are they built to order?
They're built to order.
Right. Dare I ask, and I know they say if you have to ask, you can't afford it, but should I be feeling flush with cash and want a brand new Quarry Hunslet, What sort of money would I need to lay down for one of those little bad girls?
Strangely enough, I asked that last year because I thought I'd have a bit more money. It's $250,000 for a brand new one.
$250,000.
But that guarantees a minimum 12-year per toilet as well.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Steam locomotives of any kind are very, very expensive. I mean, even things like the miniature traction engines. I know from my father that you'll never find them in full working order for less than about £22,000. So this is not a hobby for the faint-hearted or shallow of pocket.
Even those of us who volunteer spend a lot of money.
I can imagine. And it's one of the things I think that everybody knows, that when your hobby is railways of any sort, be it real or model, it is expensive. I mean, Sir William McAlpine lost out a lot of money sending locomotives on a world tour, so it's not for the shallow of pocket indeed. But listen, Dale, it's been great to be able to talk to you here, and thank you very much again for inviting us down to visit this railway. I know that the full-on lockdown starts tomorrow. So in a way, I think this is going to be the last opportunity for a lot of people to come out to a steam railway for some time. So I'm just glad that we've got the weather to be able to enjoy this. But look, thank you very much. I would shake your hand, but we're not allowed to. But thank you ever so much for taking the time out to speak with us. Here actually, we talked a little bit about the two new build Hunslets, and as luck would have it, they've just pulled up to the platform. So both of these are ostensibly the same, built in, I believe it's 2005, but we've got different cabs on the pair, which is why they look slightly different. But these literally are the newest steam Hunslets, and as I said before, because they were built by the Hunslet Locomotive Company, they are a continuation of that mark. The workmanship is just amazing, absolutely amazing. Now I have inquired how much one of these would cost, and I've always been one with the adage, if you have to ask, you certainly can't afford it. And I did ask, and it turns out I couldn't afford it, and you need very deep pockets with these, so £250,000 to get yourself one of these locomotives. Not sure how long the waiting list is. Do you think they'll let me pay by instalments?
I will do another run now. Thank you.
you've got an amazing view from up here as well.
Are they having a race?
I've had a great time, to be honest with you. I think it's been great fun. I'd certainly come back here again. And I'm just staggered actually at how much is running. Normally you go to preserved line, there's nowhere near as much stuff as this running. So I'm really impressed. Then this is where they store some of the wagons and stuff. So it's just a nice little secluded area. So you can see here, there's just a little tiny turntable. I've still got the triple gauge, the 2 foot and the 2'6". It appears to be where they store things like rolling stock. There's a covered shed that actually goes all the way back round to the main line, and the ones that are running now will be stored in there, this space. But it's just interesting to see this little kind of grotto tucked away with a whole host of mining locomotives and other bits of rolling stock. So we're going to head on down here and we're going to see what else we've got to find. I'm really intrigued by this. You can see here where the track curves round. It's so tight, just heading off over here. So let's head on through here and explore. We're here and it's quite a peaceful garden. There's a little lake in the middle and the main railway's over there outside, and you can hear the noise of the trains powering past. But in here it's a much more tranquil, calm little garden railway, and I'm actually thinking, I wonder if I can persuade Zoe to let me have one quick ride on this, because this just looks like a garden of tranquility to enjoy the horticulture and ride round on what I assume is probably the very beginning of the Statfold Barn Railway. I'm guessing that this may be where it all started. So let's go and climb aboard and get one last ride before we hit the road. You know what, I think this is the garden railway that I want. This is amazing. It's just tucked away in this ornate little garden around the lake, and really looking forward to this. Absolutely blown away. That is incredible, the way it just goes through this garden, and it feels like a natural part of the whole landscape here. The railway is integrated so well, and it's quite peaceful going round and seeing all these wonderful trees and lakes, ponds. It's such a pleasant place to just kind of kick back and relax on an afternoon. I've actually enjoyed this little one going around the garden so much. I think it's the perfect synergy of nature and Victorian engineering. It's come to the end of the day. I've had a really great time. There's so much to see here. I'm just so amazed how many trains are running, and so intensively. So I had a great day out, and I would certainly come back here again and would well recommend it. And thank you very much, Dale, for inviting us down here. It's been an absolutely amazing day, and I'm ever so grateful. And thank you as well for supporting the channel on Patreon. Without people like you, we really couldn't do this. So keep up the great work. And we're going to head off now, but I know that you've still got more trains to work on, so we will let you get on. But thanks again for inviting us down. See you later. Today's video is sponsored by Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Visit train-o-matic.com to browse the full range and see what they've got suitable for you. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Michael Churchwood, Anthony Hunt, William Wade, Wayne Johns, Offshore Allen, oorail.co.uk, Tepic, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Peter Bolton, Brian Smith, Brian and Dorothy Mudd, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Trish Bits, Sparky 107107, George Botterini, Andy Finch, Chris Moss, Robert Sears, MD of San Juan Model Company and Grant Line Products, and Judge Mortis. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.